out there, at the end of the day, it's a contract that you've made with another person.
Right.
And when your emotions are involved, you're not always thinking with the clearest of heads. And so I think it's interesting that you talk about this idea of like maybe sometimes that's why an attorney, especially having somebody by your side who knows the statutes, knows the law, knows the process, and can walk you through that time that is so hard.
Yeah, because I think people, something to keep in mind is when it's best if the parties can reach an agreement on themselves, between themselves, that gets presented to the court. Because, like I said, you can control it. Um, the parties are free to be as creative as they want to be when they come to a resolution. A judge isn't going to be as creative as the parties can be. So for instance, if somebody wants to keep their 401k, they're most likely going to need to be willing to give up something else to make that other person, compensated for whatever they might be giving up in this other bucket. So, you kind of compartmentalize things and kind of try to make things a little bit 50-50. And again, the statute doesn't say 50-50, it says fair and equitable. But kind of good benchmark is to kind of look at and say what's an even split kind of look like. But if the parties can be as creative as they want to be, as long as they're happy with it, right? If they can live with that decision, the court is willing to put that agreement in. But again, if they don't reach that resolution, it's always working its way for a judge to make that decision, who's going to look at and kind of compartmentalize the different issues. So it is helpful because it is emotional. A lot of times it's difficult to make a decision when there's emotion involved, especially when it's tied to the years of relationships. So it is helpful to have an attorney who can sit there and say, hey, listen, this is what the court's most likely going to do in this situation. This is what the law says. This is what you can and can't do. Maybe here's a great way to kind of look at the proposal that you might not be looking at. So different ways like that, they might be able to come at it more kind of somewhat detached and looking at it through the process versus in an emotional situation that a client might be going through.